Welcome to Save Our Sleep. Tizzie and the Save Our Sleep team believe it's every child's right to receive comfort, a parent's right to demonstrate love, and everyone's right to a full night of sleep. This podcast is not a medical or scientific volume, but a collection of tried and tested solutions and tips based on my many years of experience with babies and young children. Its main purpose is to help parents understand and avoid sleep problems in young babies and toddlers.
We'd like to recognise the Wadawurrung people who are the traditional owners of this region, which Tizzie and myself live and are recording today's podcast on. We acknowledge and respect that they have taken care of this land and water and raised children in this nation for over an extraordinary 70,000 years. The Save Our Sleep podcast is dedicated to helping you prevent and solve sleep problems while having some fun along the way. We endeavour to discuss all things family related, starting from pre-conception all the way through to an adult child leaving home and beyond. Some topics may be triggering. If you find this is the case, please reach out to your or your child's health nurse or general practitioner. Welcome back to the Save Our Sleep podcast, episode number 14 with Tizzie Hall and Zoe Starr. Tizzie, how are you today?
You just took that out of my head.
Oh,
I just sat here thinking, we never say this is Tizzie Hall and
I know,
Zoe Starr.
Isn't that funny? Oh, I thought it last week, yeah.
I was just sitting here thinking, honestly, I was just thinking, Zoe always starts, and if I start, I'd say, welcome to the Save Our Sleep podcast with
you should
Tizzie
really do
Hall
this.
and co-host Zoe Starr.
Yeah. Well, there you go.
So welcome.
We talked about how you were a witch last week, and that's one of the witchy things that you do. We were thinking about the same things. Yeah.
So, how's your week been?
Good, boring. We are
You're
sitting
just waiting on a
around
baby.
waiting.
You didn't have to
happily
wait last
waiting.
time.
Very happily waiting. So
You didn't have to wait last time.
No.
For those who don't know Zoe's history, her last baby came at, her last two babies came together, twins, at 25 weeks and 3 days, and she's well past that now, and she's bored. And her baby is now officially full term.
I know.
Full term, one baby, not two.
Just
Save Our Sleep
so
from
different.
day one. It's going to be really interesting.
And should I, I've been holding this information back, but should we let our listeners know that I hope to share with everyone the journey, my Save Our Sleep journey with this baby?
I think so. We'll just see what happens.
We're going to see what happens. No pressure, but because Tizzie's such a beautiful person like that, she understands motherhood, and there's no pressure from Tizzie. But I'm hoping, and that's my that's my endeavour, is to let our listeners in, and you can follow the journey, the Save Our Sleep journey.
You asked earlier, and then I kind of brushed you off, but I'm now going to re-ask you a question. Okay. You asked earlier if you should be expressing now, expressing milk for the baby when it comes. If it's not in the book, don't do it.
Thanks.
I think, I feel like it's a little bit, I know some people say to do it, but part of me feels like if it naturally happens, but I don't know, it's a bit, I think it's a tiny bit unnatural.
Well, it is. There's nothing, if we were, cavemen, and it's not in no other animal history, is there, that people are getting milk out before the baby comes?
The baby might panic and jump out.
Well, it is a possibility. They say not to do it before 36 weeks for that reason. If you feel contractions or, any strange feelings, they say not to do it. And I've been advised to do it.
So when
I can't. There's no milk coming out.
When you have a baby and you...
Or colostrum.
Start feeding your baby, your uterus all does these funny things. It retracts, it does stuff. Like, is that going to be right with the baby in there? Are you going to scare your baby?
Yeah, it's a bit of an odd one. It's interesting.
I don't know if you should or you shouldn't. It's not my area of expertise. Ask me once the baby's out. That's my area of expertise.
I will. I shall.
So,
have you got any news for us?
I wanted to ask you, is it in the genes? Like, it's really interesting. So, well, I've got a couple of proud mummy things.
Oh, good.
Totally shocked. Kieran, my 7-year-old, came second in the whole of year 2 in cross country. I didn't even know he could run.
Oh, fantastic.
Bad mummy moment. I wasn't there. I was helping everybody else and sitting at home working. But we're planning to move house, hopefully early next year. We're planning to sell our house towards the end of this year.
Right.
And hopefully move by next school year. We want to be moving. We want to live 5 minutes from school. So we're planning to. And then we can have good mummy moments because it won't take me. It won't take me
an hour
to get. Well, it's more than that.
anywhere, everywhere. Yeah.
It's more than that.
Yeah.
So you've just noticed that the light's on. Do you want to pop out and turn it off? And I'll keep chatting to myself for a second. But
I'm going to listen.
so it's, well, because it's not even an hour. Like so when the kids have got like a school assembly, I have to get in the car, drive 35 minutes to school, drive, both of them, drive 35 minutes to school, then, or depend on the time of the day. If it was a 9 o'clock assembly, it would take me 45 to 50 minutes to drive to school, then go to a 25-minute assembly and then drive 45 to 50 minutes home. Like, and then last weekend, I spent the entire weekend in the car because Nathan, it was the weekend before last, Nathan was away. And Killian had to be at school at 6 o'clock in the morning to get a bus to go to Melbourne for 8. Dara had to be at school at 10:30. Killian had to be picked up at 12. Dara had to be picked up at 1. And Kieran had to be back near school for a birthday party at 3. Then Sunday, we all went to school for 10 o'clock in the morning for a colour run thing. Then Dara had to be at school at 1. He had to be picked up at 5. Like, you just, and it's nearly an hour and a half round trip. So yes, our aim is to move. We could do two things. We could move the school, we could move kids to school nearer our house, or we can move closer to their school. We love the school. Now, my first proud mummy moment was Kieran coming second cross country.
Congratulations,
amazing.
Kieran.
But then, is it in the genes? Here's the question. So I am proud of my mum. If you Google Daphne Hall
I love the name.
hockey.
Okay.
So Google Daphne Hall hockey, and all of these, or Daphne Hall president of hockey, all of these photos of my mum giving hockey trophies to all these men. It looks, there's photos of her giving all these men and women, and there's one of her out at Australia for the World Cup. When Mum was coming to Australia for the World Cup, she was really upset because we wouldn't let her stay with us. Like, how mean are we?
Very. Why wouldn't you let her stay with you?
Because Mum wanted to stay with us. The Hockey World Cup was on. It must have been like maybe 10 years ago, or we'll have to find out when it was. We wouldn't let her stay with us. She was being really annoying. She was asking to stay with us. She wanted to stay with Nathan and I, and she wanted to get up every morning and go to the Hockey World Cup. And she was bitching. She was telling all of her friends how mean we were because we wouldn't let her stay, right? Do you want to know why?
Yes.
Because we live on the East Coast in a place called Ocean Grove. And the Hockey World Cup was in Perth. And she wanted to stay with us and go to the World Cup every day. And I'm like, Mum, it's like Dublin to Russia. Like, it's not possible. And she couldn't comprehend the size of Australia. And this went on and on and on. Anyhow, so Mum used to play hockey, and Mum was a hockey umpire. And I can still remember Mum. I used to think as a child, the colour of the dress you wore caused your baby to be that colour. There was a teacher at school, I don't know what, not colour, sex, flavour, gender. My kids call it gender. They're really good. Kieran says gender. What gender is Zoe's baby going to be? Their words are different.
They are.
So Mum used to wear dresses, and I used to beg her to wear pink dresses, but she always wore blue dresses. And then her babies were the two babies that came when I was little were boys. But I remember a teacher at school always wore pink, and her baby was a girl.
Isn't that funny?
I don't remember who she was, but I remember she was from Wicklow, and she always wore pink. Anyway, so the weird thing is it in the genes? So our children in year 7 in their school, which is first year for anyone in Ireland and England, is the first year of, I call it senior school. I think you call it secondary school. And the first year of senior school, Killian has just started the first year of senior school. And he is playing hockey for APS Sports. And I thought he would hate it. And I didn't expect him to be that good at it. And we've not really done hockey or been into
Not many
hockey.
people do.
But my sister, Michelle, is so into hockey.
Okay.
She's a perfect daughter. My mum loves her. And her
always
husband
one.
is like, plays hockey for Bray Hockey Club, which is a club at home.
Okay.
And anyhow, I just never even thought about it. And Killian is my second child that I brought home from hospital, the middle one.
Yes.
Killian is just a natural.
Oh,
so is it in the genes?
Oh, of course.
And then the school are saying to me, what club did he play for? And who did he play for before he started playing for school?
Killian.
And all this. And I'm going, no, he's never played before. No, his first hockey stick, we got him last week. No, he's hockey. And it's like really bizarre.
That's fantastic.
And is it? Because we've got to get up 5:15 and get him to school for 6 o'clock in the morning.
I'm so worried about extracurricular activities.
And it gets harder.
Yeah,
I tell so many parents, you can go to work when your kids are 0 to 5, but once they start school, say goodbye to all that.
I know,
there is so much to do when they start school. But anyway, that's a proud mummy moment with Killian. And now I need to tell you a Ruby story.
Okay.
So Ruby, I shared on my personal
on your Friday
Facebook. I must see if I can get permission to share one of my Friday children on my Instagram. I will find out if I may. And Ruby, she has started secondary school at a school just up the road from the boys, but a different school. She's going to a different, a more church school. I don't know, you know the way you've got Catholic, Roman Catholic, a Roman Catholic school, and you know. Anyway, Ruby goes there, and she wears beautiful sort of winey red uniform and kilt and so on, and she looks amazing. Anyhow, she wanted to sing in the choir. They were doing a mass. They were doing a mass, and she wanted to sing in the choir. And her friends were kind of talking her out of it.
Oh, okay.
And she wanted to do it, and she was like, "No, I'm going to do it." And they were trying to talk her out of it. She was like, "I want to do it. I'm going to do it," and she did it.
Go girl.
And she sang beautifully.
Oh, fantastic.
And then I screen recorded it and asked if I knew it would be okay because I share her a lot on my private Facebook.
Yes.
And I screen recorded it and shared it. And then I asked her mum, I shared all of her, I tagged her mum in it. Her Not Friday mum. I tagged her mum in it. And then all of her mums, her granny and great granny and grandfather were all commenting. And I think it was really good because I've got this knack of screen recording and they were all commenting and it was just amazing. And I was so proud that she was so, I would like to do it.
Herself.
I'm going to do it. And even though my friends are telling me not to do it.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah, because peer pressure is just the biggest thing.
And she did it because she used to go to the Geelong College where my children went, and they did choir and stuff. And it just proves that the foundation, those first few years of learning and giving them the confidence is so important.
Yeah,
so there's my 100%. Proud mummy moment. So shall we move on?
Yes.
You want to not talk about anything because you just want your baby to come?
Yes. Yeah, I've literally got nothing to add to the conversation today. But I'm happy to move on because you pre-warned our listeners about the topic this week, which is an interesting one. And
I thought it was good to go off the book slightly and onto a topic because
well, it's just it's interesting, and they usually something that you can add.
So today is episode 14.
It is.
And the other reason why I think it's good is we hope that we will be recording again next week. But in case we're not, then this might be a wrap. And then we might come back with series 2.
Yes.
Which will be, we're not very good at planning and Save Our Sleep, which is good. And that's why the business has always worked. And we're very much around mums. So at the moment, we are planning to continue series 1.
Yep.
But I think series 1 will continue until you have your baby.
Yes.
And then I believe that we'll come back with series 2, which will be Let's Follow Zoe's Baby.
Yes.
So because we don't know when babies are coming.
Yes.
And we can't be 100% sure, we have to wait and see. So will we be here next week or not? Or will we be having a little break?
Yes.
So episode 14, I would like to talk about vomiting. And my reason for talking about vomiting is lots of parents contact me because they have tried to teach their older baby how to sleep. And they've done something called control crying. Now, we did discuss control crying back in one of the other series, but I can't remember putting it in the notes. So I'm not sure where we discussed it. But the difference with my settling technique and control crying, there's a couple of differences. I believe when you put a child into their cot at sleep time, when you're teaching them to sleep, when they don't know how to self-settle, they will yell, I don't want to go to sleep. Don't leave me in here. Mom, I don't want to go to sleep. I'm not going to sleep. Don't leave me in here. And when you do the control crying type of thing, I believe that the cry starts off like that. So with my approach, it starts off with yelling, I don't want to go to sleep. Don't leave me in here. I'm not going to go to sleep. I'm not going to sleep. Come and get me. I'm not going to go to sleep. And they're a bit cross and angry and yelling. And it's a cry. It's called a yell, a protesting cry. With my approach, well, first of all, with my approach, you do the lay down approach. So if they're standing up, because we're talking about an older baby, we're talking about a 1-year-old or a 16, 17 month, standing child, yeah?
Yes.
So they stand up, you lay them down. They stand up, you lay them down. So you go in and you say, it's time for bed. You talk to them. You say to them, things are going to change. I've read Tizzie's book. Tizzie said, I need to put you to bed and you need to teach yourself how to sleep. You cannot underestimate how much children understand. They understand.
They understand, okay? They really do.
Okay.
Yes, and until you try it, it will blow your mind.
I want to be sponsored by Netflix for these series. I've been thinking about who I want to sponsor us.
Do.
Because people have been asking if they can sponsor us, like different companies.
Yes.
And there's always a reason not to, like landfill or this or that. But I just think, not Netflix, but Netflix, a documentary called Babies. Come on board with us because it's really good. It's modern research. By the way, I have been measuring Killian and Kieran once a week.
Oh, good on you.
And they want to know how we're going to take it to the new house, but we're going to see. Yes, it's really interesting.
Oh, Otto's had growing pains in his legs and I'm absolutely kicking myself.
I wonder if they'll measure at the same time. Measure him now. Have you measured him today?
No, but I'm so slack with this sort of stuff. I just don't remember to do things every day.
But I wonder if they'll grow the same.
I know.
On the same day.
Can you come into my house and measure them once a day, please?
You see, who stayed in hospital longer?
Otto.
Otto will have had more sleep than Sid. So I wonder whether he's taller. Who's taller?
No, they're like spot on. Sid's slightly bigger. He's always been like a little bit chunkier. So anyway,
we want to know.
Same height.
We want to know. Okay,
yeah, interesting. So Babies, Netflix, if you're listening.
So with my approach, you lay them down, they stand up, you lay them down. So you talk to them first.
You've also ticked off all the things, the holistic things. So it's the holistic approach. You know that baby is not hungry. You know that baby is tired, not overtired, not undertired. Baby's warm, not hot, not cold, and baby's secure with all the blankets on, feels like a cuddle, and you have ticked off all of these things before you are putting your baby down and expecting them to resettle. And you've had that to settle. Yep. You've had that conversation. This is what's happening tonight.
Yeah, and I think with older babies, I think it's better to start around about 7 o'clock at night. It probably is, you know. Okay. So let's, Yes. And also, if you've been trying a different settling technique, just stop it.
Yes.
Like, don't be doing this, they're crying, and you're trying to settle them, and then you're going in, and then you do a whole week of no trying to settle them. So before you start the Save Our Sleep approach, do a whole week of nothing. Do a week of breastfeeding them to sleep, or rocking them to sleep, or patting them to sleep, or driving them in the car to sleep. Like just driving them in the car to sleep is really not a good idea because you might fall asleep at the wheel. So,
you got to change there. Yes.
No, you might fall asleep at the wheel. I have had clients who've hit kangaroos who've fallen asleep at the wheel because they're so tired. I mean, hitting a kangaroo isn't because they're tired. But I just remember a client in Diamond Creek or something in South Australia. Is it?
No, Victoria, Diamond Creek. There might be another one in South Oz.
Maybe I made up the name.
You might have.
Anyhow, maybe you fly to South Australia and then you drive to there. Would the airport be near there? Don't know. Maybe you go across the border. Don't know. Okay, anyhow, so I remember them hitting a kangaroo because they were out driving in the middle of the night trying to get their baby to sleep. So, and I'd love to go back and help them with the bedding because we didn't use the bedding back then. And, so
we live and we learn.
You've done everything. You've talked to your baby. You've had a week off of all settling. With my approach, they stand in the cot, you lie them down, they stand in the cot, you lie them. Depending on their age, depending on this, you do it for a certain amount of time. Then you walk out and you stay out until it's time in the book that we've said to stay out passes, or until you cannot physically stay out any longer, and then you go in and you stay in there with them until they are asleep, and you follow the information in the book step by step. That's my approach. The other approach, which is control crying, is where people say, leave them for 5 minutes,
Yes.
go in and say, I love you. When you go in, they're doing the I want cry, the yelling, the protest cry. Then when you come in, they're like, mommy, 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 daddy, daddy. Then when you turn around and walk out, you break their heart. When you break their heart, the cry changes to an emotional cry. When a baby cries emotionally, they get hot.
Yes.
When a baby has cried and cried and cried emotionally, when a baby gets a really high temperature, they vomit. It cools their body temperature down.
Okay.
When a baby cries emotionally, they get really, really hot and they vomit. Okay. Now, people often say to me, why do you tell people what to do when the kid vomits? Like, why do you tell? Because I say to people,
there's a section in the book,
and I say to people in this section in the book, make the room vomit proof, etc. And we'll talk about that in a minute. But people say to me, why, Tizzie? Like, you get bad rap for saying, okay, so what should I do? Should I say to these people? This is a question to you, Zoe.
Yes.
So when somebody contacts me and says, Tizzie, I've been told that you might be able to help me. I have a baby who's 14 months. Every time I put them in their cot, they cry and cry for a few minutes and then they vomit. And I can't teach them how to sleep.
Yep.
And then I talk to these parents and I find out that they have done controlled crying and the vomiting is from the emotional cry.
Yes.
Should I say to these parents, hard luck, you've done controlled crying. Controlled crying emotionally damages. Not always. There will be parents out there who've done controlled crying, and I'm not having a go at you. I'm just saying in my terms, I don't think it's the perfect thing to say. Do I say, hard luck, you've done controlled crying, you've caused emotional stress to your baby and to you alike, now your baby vomits, you're a problem, see you later. Is that how we should handle it?
Absolutely not.
So we should offer a solution.
Yes. And this is, this is such a touchy subject. And for me, I've really struggled with it through my times of knowing you and using your approach and talking to other mums. And when it gets brought up, and
it gets screenshot.
Interesting. Yes, it does. And so many times I've thought, let's just take that out of the book. That would be so much easier if that paragraph or little tip or, that bit wasn't in the book. Why is it in the book? And I thought she should just wipe it from the book. And then I think years ago you said the same thing. What am I supposed to do? Turn these people away and say bad luck? And I thought, and then it just made me realise how brave you were to approach that and to keep that in your book.
But if that wasn't in the book, right, what would they then screenshot?
That's right.
Like, it's like every time someone says, Tizzie Hall's approach, and it comes back to the uninformed. It's like they've not read the book. And I look at it from people's point of views, Imagine if The Age did a newspaper article on me a few years ago. It was really interesting, right? So The Age did this massive 2-page spread, like the big old-fashioned Age, the big paper, And people who were diehard Tizzie fans, who loved me, who absolutely loved Tizzie, they hated the article. They thought it was not nice. It was really anti-Save Our Sleep, and they really didn't like it.
Okay.
And the people who didn't like Tizzie Hall, were anti-Tizzie Hall, they hated the article because they thought it made me look really good.
Okay.
And then the people who'd never heard of Tizzie Hall came to get support and help because they really liked the article.
Okay, interesting.
It was really interesting. And I didn't like the article because it said that I looked like I was an Irish person lifted straight out. I was a very big or large Irish person lifted straight out of a
pub or something. Is that right?
Out of a James Joyce, looked like it's come straight out of a James Joyce novel or something.
Okay, I don't know.
And it really offended me. And then it said in the article, so then they interviewed people who were past clients.
Okay.
And then it said in the article that I'd sat in a restaurant and told Dara was telling Dara about my ectopic pregnancy.
Yes.
But my ectopic pregnancy, where I lost my tube,
happened on pregnancy like number 3, and Dara was like pregnancy 13. So it was very fictional, this article, and it was very wrong.
Right.
But
So
the
it
worst,
wasn't an interview on you. It was
they interviewed other people about me. Yeah.
Okay.
They did interview me as well, but it was just very strange, the article. And then, and it said that I used a different name, and it gave different names, and it said that there was a different name on my driving licence, which isn't true.
Okay.
Like, it was a bit odd.
Right.
Interesting. Anyway. And then I got on an airplane, and I was in the airplane sitting at the front, and the steward, the cabin crew guy, male guy, very jolly guy, came in. He went, "I recognise you. You're Tizzie Hall from the James Joyce novel." And he goes, "Oh, you're much thinner than I imagined." So he too
really painted a picture.
Had thought, it was very. Anyhow,
Tizzie Hall, what's the connection between this article and vomiting?
Well, because people, I was saying in the article, and it is in the article, that if I asked the lady who wrote the article when she was interviewing maternal health nurses about the article, and she interviewed a couple of maternal health nurses, and they were anti-Tizzie Hall. And I asked, and it was really interesting because I think in the article they gave the whole opinion, and then she asked them, "Now, have you read the book?" Because I asked her to ask them this.
Right.
"Or have you read about the book on the internet?"
Yes.
And they'd read about the book. And it was really interesting because if I read about the book,
you would probably
I would not like it because it says in the book, because on the internet it says that I say, if your sick child vomits, ignore them.
I know.
I don't say that. And it says, if your child poos, on the internet it says, Tizzie Hall says, if your child poos, leave them, don't worry about changing it. A little bit of poo won't do any harm between now and the morning. Well, we're not talking about a 6. So that snippet is screenshot and put on the internet. And so's the vomiting snippet. But we're not talking about a 2-week-old or a 4-week-old baby. If a 2-week-old baby poos, then you change their nappy. If you left them in it, it would burn their bottom.
Of course it would.
Like, it's really bad. And we're talking about if a 2.5-year-old is going to bed and saying, "Mom, I've pooed." And you go up and you change the poo. And then, "Mom, I've pooed." And then they're pooing like a rabbit-size pebble.
Yes.
Just because they know if they poo, you'll come and change them. And then I say, "Go in."
Yes.
Don't turn the lights on.
Yes.
Don't make eye contact. Don't talk to them.
Right.
Change their nappy.
Yes.
Like a little bit of poo, meaning if they've done a rabbit-sized pebble of poo.
And this is a behaviour that you've seen.
And it's a hard poo.
Right,
and it's not like an explosion baby breastfeeding poo.
Yes.
A tiny bit of brown. Like, if you picture it, if you got up in the middle of the night to poo and you're on holidays with Luke, let's say, when you were dating. Let's say, rewind back to when you were dating, and you're a bit... Maybe you wouldn't have shared a bedroom. That's probably a bad example. But if you were in an early relationship and maybe you shared a bedroom with somebody and you didn't know them that well...
Yes.
And you got up in the middle of the night and you did a poo.
Yes.
And you didn't want to put the light on because you didn't want to wake them.
Right.
Yeah?
Yes.
You're not going to worry about if you don't wipe your bum properly. A little bit of poo isn't going to do any harm.
Right.
Normally when you wipe your bum, you've got lights on, you're sort of, I don't know how you wipe your bum.
I get
but you've got the paper
saying.
and you wipe your bum and you check it. You should check. That's what I tell my boys anyhow.
Yeah,
you check it, you wipe it until it's clean. Is that how you wipe your bum?
Yeah.
Okay. If you can't put a light on,
yes,
or if there was a power cut,
you go with it. Okay.
You wipe as best as you can. Okay. That's what we're talking about.
Okay.
So, what do we tell them? Hard luck, go away?
I know. And so I want to ask you a question of all your years being the author of Save Our Sleep and your client feedback, etc. Has there ever been a Save Our Sleep baby that has vomited as a result of your self-settling
Not that I know
advice?
Of. No. Well, you're in the support group. Have you ever seen it?
I have not seen it in the 4 years that I've been in the support group. So this advice is for people who have not followed the Save Our Sleep advice and they're coming to you because their baby is vomiting as a result of a different technique.
Yes.
Thank you for clearing that up.
Yes.
Because I think that it's as simple as that. The Save Our Sleep babies we've never seen this behaviour.
it's
and you're offering this solution.
But it goes and totally kind of changing off topic, but it goes back to babies are really, really clever.
They are so clever.
These babies who someone is trying to control crime with are crying because they don't want to go to sleep, and they're crying because they don't want to go to sleep, and then they get so hot and then they vomit, and mum and dad run in and they go, okay, so I need to vomit to get mum and dad to run in.
That's what they've learned, yes.
Okay?
Yes.
Let me give you a really weird example of a baby,
okay.
right? I got asked to go out to a house where there were triplets, and this baby kept holding its breath. I'm trying to remember exactly what happened, but they couldn't work out why the baby kept holding its breath. Oh, it kept coughing and holding its breath.
Okay.
And there was about 6 children in the household, and they had tried everything. They tried everything medically. They had tried everything. They had tried being to every doctor, being to every pediatrician. They couldn't work out what was wrong with this baby. And this baby just kept holding its breath.
Right.
It would cough.
At random times.
A cough and hold its breath.
Right.
And they just couldn't work out if there was what the problem was. Well, I went there and worked out really, really quickly that the baby was left to its own device.
Yes.
Like it was number 6, or maybe it was number 5, you know.
Yeah, sure.
And if it coughed and held its breath, mum ran over. So it would go, and mum would run over and pick it up.
To alert mum.
So the baby learned at like about 6 months old, if I want a cuddle, I need to cough and hold my breath.
Yes.
And it was really bizarre. It was like the action is coughing and holding my breath. The result is mum picks me up really quickly and gives me a cuddle. Of course the baby was doing it.
Yes.
Of course the baby was doing it. And then it comes down to like, also, you know, mums, I know we're going off subject, but it helps people. I remember people say to me, you know, their babies constantly ran their legs like they're they've got a toddler and they've got a new baby and their toddler's constantly ran their legs and it's pulling at their legs. And yes, in the ideal world, if your toddler is pulling at your legs and wants you to hold them and wants you to pick them up and is really, really clingy, in the ideal world, give your toddler some attention, sit down, give your toddler. But if you can't, because you've now got twins, you've got this, you've got that, and it's driving you insane and you don't know what to do.
Yes.
The action is a child around your legs pulling at you and crying and pulling and pulling and pulling. The consequence is, so the baby does that, toddler does that, and the consequence is you picking them up and giving them a cuddle.
Yes.
That's in the ideal world. Yeah. But if it's driving you insane as a mum and you're finding that you're getting really upset, you're getting really angry with your child, because if you're sleep deprived, you've got a new baby in this particular set of circumstances. The mum had twins. She was up all night with twins because she was following the Save Our Sleep routine, but she still had to get up every 3 hours. At first. Then she had this, I said to her, we'll change the consequence. So when the toddler comes over and starts pulling at your legs and crying and whinging, immediately say, oh, you're asking mum to go in the porta cot. Take them over, put them in the porta cot. Every time they do it, take them over, put them in the porta cot.
Yeah.
And then they think, oh God, mum's really stupid. Every time I do that, she puts me in the, I'm going to stop doing that, you know. But then give them the extra attention. Like you really need to give them the attention. Like then, you know, then at another occasion when they're just playing with their toys, go over and go, oh, hi, Sid, you've been very good playing with your toys. And try really hard to give them extra attention and try to make them feel safe and secure. But so with these babies, the action is vomiting. The consequence is mum and dad run into the room.
Yes.
Right? So how do we fix it? We fix it by setting up a second cot. So you can either rent a cot or you can have a porta cot or you can borrow a cot. The cot that you put them in, I say to put loads of towels and everything down so that when they vomit, you can walk in, babies are very good at vomiting out, not getting it on them. When it's a planned vomit, they're very good at not really getting it on them. So most of these babies will just vomit out of the cot or vomit onto the mattress or vomit over the bars, you know. So go in, and if you have to change their clothes, do, but with as little eye contact as possible. You go in, you get them out of the cot, you get them out of the cot, you change them if you have to, or if they haven't got the vomit on them, you just get them out of the cot, put them into the porta cot or the second cot, and deal with their cot, lift up all the vomit and things, and walk back out again. Do not give them the attention. Now, I've just said you break the rules where once you go in, you stay in, but this is a different child. This is a child who has learned to vomit to get you in there, no fault of their own, right? Then, once you've cured that vomiting, because they now realise, well, there's no point vomiting yet, then you're going to teach them how to settle. Okay. So after a couple of days of not reacting to the vomiting, they will then stop the vomiting. Okay. Then do what I said. Yes. Give it a couple of days of really getting them to sleep any way you can. Yes. So whether you put them in the cot and you stay in there with them, even after the vomit, if you then stay in the room with them, if you choose to, and help them settle to sleep in the other cot. Yes. Yeah. But you give them no eye contact, you don't make a fuss of the actual vomiting. Okay. So I would, after they vomit, walk out so they realise you're not giving them attention for vomiting. And then if you decide to come back in and stay with them till they go to sleep, right? After you've got rid of the vomiting, which will stop after a day or two, you then talk to them. This is what we're going to do. You help them to go to sleep. So whether you put them in the cot and you stay with them, or whether you put them in the pram and walk them to sleep, or whether you rock them to sleep, whatever. Yes. Then after a few days of that, you start the Save Our Sleep technique of the lay down approach. Okay. That is how you fix the vomiting. Yeah. So that, so that's the difference with control crying. Yes. My approach is the lay down approach. It's all based on timing. I think someone asked a couple of weeks ago where I got the timing from. I got that from watching babies. Yep. For some reason, sort of the 10-month to a year-old timing is they will yell for 46. Oh, there's my yawn. They will yell for 46 minutes exactly and then they'll stop. And then we talked about the fact that it's really hard because in this age group, sometimes they just stand there and then sometimes they fall asleep in the folding position. Yes. But that is the topic of vomiting. Is that
I like that. Can I add? Yes. Something that is just a simple piece from the book that I don't believe we've heard from your mouth yet, comparing the two different styles of controlled crying versus the Save Our Sleep self-settling. The big difference is that with controlled crying, you're coming in and out of the baby's room at certain times. Yeah, and so your baby doesn't understand that it's going to be 6 minutes this time and next time it's going to be 7 minutes and then eventually it might be none. I don't know because I've never, tried it before. But you once said to me, it's really mean. And I thought it is so mean because they don't know that you're going to come in for a certain amount of minutes and then you'll be out for a certain amount of minutes. The difference with the Save Our Sleep self-settling is that you have all your baby's needs met. You've explained what's going to happen. You've then followed through. We all know how important it is that when you've set a goal or whatever it might be, that you follow through as a parent, because that is what builds trust between your baby and you. So you've told your baby, I'm not going to help you to sleep tonight. Your comforter is here to help you to sleep. I'm not going to help you sleep. I'm going to say goodnight to you now and you're going to go to sleep by yourself, and you leave them to go to sleep by themselves. If that 46 minutes or whatever it is has lapsed, you then stay in with your baby until they're asleep.
And it's teasing them, going in and out and in and out. It's teasing them. It's teasing them and it's teaching them to cry for a certain amount of time and you'll come in. And you're actually, it's like training for a marathon. Yeah. Cry for 6 minutes, I'll come in. Then you go out for 8 minutes. Then you go out for 10 minutes. Then you go out for 4. What you're actually doing is teaching them to cry for longer amounts of time. And you'll come in. You are teaching them. And they're in their cot thinking, oh, how long have I got to cry for mum? Oh, if I cry long enough, she'll come in, Yes. And then what was the other thing I was going to say? Oh, and the main difference is you can see the difference between my settling approach and control crying, because with control crying, when the baby eventually falls asleep, they go...
Yeah. They're sobbing
and they're sobbing and there's tears and there's snot and they're hot and they're sweating and they're sobbing and they're properly crying. Yes. And when they go asleep from the lay down approach, they eventually stop yelling, go quiet, and they fall asleep from a calm state. Yes. So they go to sleep from calm, as the control crime baby goes asleep from distressed, exhaustion, sobbing, emotional. And the people where control crime has worked for them, it's often the same thing. You talk to them at great detail and and they go, oh, I did control crying. Oh yeah, I did cry it out. And cry it out also isn't, I don't like. And people say that Save Our Sleep's cried out, which I don't think it is. But you talk to these people and they, you know, they say, oh yeah, but then I just worked out that if I just stayed out of the room, they went to sleep anyhow. So then they changed approach that's what worked. Yes. And why is Save Our Sleep not cry it out? Because cry it out is where you say, I'm putting my baby into bed for a set amount of time. It doesn't matter how much they yell for. I'm going to let them go to sleep. We don't do that. We do, as you said, a checklist. Is every need met? Are they not on stage 2 infant formula? Are they not on probiotics? Are you feeding them the right texture of food? Are they having the right foods at the right times? Milk is the most important food until a year old. You tick all of those boxes and then you do the lay down approach and then one other thing which we should probably touch on with a younger baby is why people say don't pat your baby to sleep because then that becomes a sleep aid. So why does the lay down approach not become a sleep aid? And why does going in and patting them not become a sleep aid? Because children are very, very clever and they very soon realise that, look, I may as well just go to sleep when I get put in the cot because Mum's going to stay out and then she's going to come in, she's going to put me to sleep. So I'm not going to get any attention when she comes in. So I'm just going to go to sleep. Sure. And they eventually start settling before that protest time is up. Great. So let's have a question.
Oh, question. Dun, 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 dun. Oh, Gracey Lacey.
Does she actually like being called Gracey Lacey? If you're going to call her Gracey Lacey, I'm going to call you a Bump Benno.
You do anyway.
Or Bernadette, or Bridget, or Bridgie.
Yeah, so we have already had a question from Grace, I think, but this is a really good one. And we do see it pop up a lot in are we going to do this? Yeah. We do see it pop up a lot in the support group.
I have no idea what it is. You're making me nervous.
No, I thought it was the wrong one, but it's the right one. It's the big bed transition. So it's a bit of a checklist or, transitioning from cot to big bed. She says, far out, I did so many things wrong when we moved my 4-year-old back in November. So what is some advice that you give around transitioning from cot to
It's interesting. A few questions have been coming up recently about the pillow. So that's one thing. Okay. Can you have a pillow in a cot? I know it's a bit off topic, but that is a question that comes up all the time.
And can you?
You shouldn't, because the reason why you should, the Save Our Sleep pillow is the safest pillow on the market.
Why?
I have done so much design. It's flat. It's not going to cause problems with the neck. But if they did roll over on it, it's dented so that there's an air pocket for them. Not that, and it's breathable and so on. But it is a proper adult size, so you can use the proper pillowcases from day one.
Good. Handy.
If you had to use a pillow in the cot, it's probably the lowest profile, so it would probably be safe in the cot. But you don't use it in the cot because they can use it as a step to climb out of the cot. Children are clever. They can bend it in two, stand on it, and use it to climb out of the cot. That's why you don't use it in a cot.
Okay.
So the first thing is when you move them into a bed, you would give them the Save Our Sleep My First Pillow, right? Yes. I get asked that all along.
Yeah.
Can you use it in a cot?
Yeah.
So secondly, when you first move them to the bed, we as adults like the bed to look pretty and we like to have a nice duvet cover, and people always ask Save Our Sleep to produce duvet cover. It's such personal choice. We can't have our own duvet covers, you know. So with the duvet, you can use the duvet to throw over when you make the bed, but you might not necessarily use the duvet when you first move them to the bed. I would use their normal cot bedding, so their normal blankets. I would use a sleeping bag for the first 6 months in the big bed. I would use your normal blankets.
So you're minimising the
change, right? And then during the day you can put the duvet over, which you get them to help you pick. So they can help you pick their duvet, their special duvet cover for the bed. It might be Kieran's is I think it's a bit girly. It used to be in the shop. It was beautiful elephants dressed in pretty dresses and stuff, and bunnies and a yellow on the very back, and for ages I thought it was he kept asking for it. And I don't know why I didn't let him have it, but I kept thinking I was keeping it for one of the girls.
Okay, yes.
I don't know why. But then when the Friday daughters come, they want the dinosaur duvet.
Okay.
So it's, I don't know why. Now he has it. He's 7 and he has it. And it's beautiful and it matches his thing. And it's a bit, but his comforters are elephants.
Okay. Oh, well.
So it's very gender neutral. Yes. So, but when do we move them? So you move a girl you don't have to move them at 2.5, but you move a girl no earlier than 2.5 and you move a boy no earlier than 3. Why are we in such a hurry these days to move our children out of their cots?
Surely it's a first child thing?
No, because so many people...
Do they?
Yeah, maybe, but
I
so
think
many people
you get excited. You get excited for that next step. Like with the first child, you're excited. You want them to walk faster and talk faster and be in a big bed and play with these different toys, and you just want them to grow up. And then by the time you have your second, you're like, no, let's leave you in the. Yes, I think it's. I think that might be a strong mindset.
Yeah, and then people say, "Oh, I've given the cot away. Like I've given it to friends," and you think, "Oh, you're a bit silly."
I'm going to leave this guy in the cot as long as he will stay there. I don't see
until I have a baby and I need my cot back now.
Yes, exactly.
Oh, grandchild! I'm dying for grandchildren now, which are years away.
Beautiful.
So so boys are more mature. Boys understand. No, girls are more mature. Yes. Girls understand boundaries sooner than boys.
They do.
That's why you would move a girl sooner if you had to.
And why would you have to? Crawling out of the cot, is that the only reason? Climbing out?
I suppose there isn't any reason why you'd have to. It's a society thing. We just do. I
mean, obviously, at some point they'll be too big for the cot. That would be a good time to move.
That normally wouldn't happen until they were 5.
I know. I'm just saying.
So there's no reason why you'd.
But I think a have to would only be if they start.
Or if they're asking to.
Or they
Yeah, but if they start climbing out, then they're feeling insecure, and then I'd be looking at changing their times of their routine and so on, or making it safe.
Yeah.
Do not take the sides off. So many cots on the market promote themselves as being toddler cots. So many people go out and buy a cot which they think is going to turn into a toddler bed, but then they have a second baby, and then they don't use it as a bed anyhow.
No.
So, and also when you take the side off, you make the child really insecure. So I would move them when they're sleeping really well in their cot at a good time when sleep's going really well.
Yes.
I would probably move them for their daytime sleeps first.
Yes.
I would never move a girl before 2.5. I would never move a boy before 3. Okay. But if you can keep a girl in her cot till 3 and you keep a boy in the cot till 3.5, do. I would always have their cot in their bedroom with their big bed, even if it meant that there was no space for anything else.
Okay.
So even if if they slept in the box cupboard as we used to have in England and Ireland, which is tiny room, that there's no room for anything in it except a single bed and a cot, I would still have the cot in there. Because normally at 6 weeks, they test the boundaries and they want to go back. And we hear the same thing over and over again. That baby toddler was put in the big bed. They loved it. They were put in the big bed. They loved it.
Yes.
And then they slept in the big bed for the first 6 weeks, and then there started to be issues. Right?
I love this. I love that you know this at 6 weeks.
6 weeks. And it's always the same thing.
Yeah.
It's always 6 weeks. It's like they test the boundaries every 6 weeks. It always happens. So there isn't really a checklist. It's ask them, talk to them.
Yes.
Get the bed, set it up in their room, maybe set it up in their room weeks before they're going to sleep in it. Offer it to them in the day sleep. Would you like to have your day sleep in your bed? If you get out of the cot, in the cot. Would you like to have your day sleep in the big bed?
Yes.
If you get out of the big bed, you're asking mum to put you in the cot.
Yeah, I like that.
Then you put them in the cot.
Yep.
You're asking me you get out of the big bed, you're asking me to put you in the cot.
Yep.
You do the same thing at night. Some parents get really disappointed because the toddler sleeps in the big bed for like 2 weeks and then suddenly wants to go back in the cot and the parents feel like they've gone backwards. But you haven't gone backwards. They just feel safe and secure in their cot. But talking about beds and so on, somebody asked a question on the Facebook about what's Tizzie's opinion about Montessori mattresses.
Okay.
Mattress beds on the floor.
Question.
my opinion of these Montessori bed frames is I think they look unsafe.
Okay.
Like the baby entrapment. I worry about entrapment. I worry about the fact that some of these frames would leave a gap between the mattress and the wall. I studied Maria Montessori. I believe in Maria Montessori. I chose my children's schooling by looking for a Montessori school. I sent Dara to a Montessori school first in Geelong.
Okay.
And then it closed down. And then I wanted a Steiner school. But the Steiner schools in the other countries that I've been to are very different to the Steiner schools locally here. Okay. And it's sort of here, there's a certain type of person that seems to go to the Steiner school. And I felt that some of those people might not be able to get past the fact that I was Tizzie Hall. Okay. So the next best thing was Regio, I can't say it properly. Regio Emigio learning, which is it's not a person, it's a city in Italy. Yeah. And it's a really good learning. If you Google ELC Regio Emilio Regio, someone will correct me on it.
ELC, did you say?
Yeah, ELC, Regio Emilio or something. Yes. It'll come up learning, or Google Regio Emilio learning. Anyway, so that's the school they went to because it's all about play. Play is the most important thing for your children for the first 6 years. I love the Maria Montessori approach. The Maria Montessori approach is, have you found it?
It's ELC, Regio, not sure. Emilia.
Emilia. Okay. Yeah, learning. Okay. Italian. So Maria Montessori is a person. She was the first female doctor. Did you know that?
Yay.
Her parents wanted her to be a teacher. And I don't know whether she's the first female doctor in Italy or in the world, but something about being the first, okay? She's a person, Italian person. Then this is not a person. This is a place that makes cheese. And they've got a school and it's the approach. Okay?
Yes.
So I love the Maria approach.
Yes.
Her approach is don't give your children a fake Hoover that doesn't Hoover. Get them a small Hoover that actually works.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Don't give them a knife that doesn't cut.
Yes.
Give them a smaller knife that can cut. You know, and she thinks that children should sleep on a mattress on the floor, not a bed frame.
Yes.
So the Maria Montessori mattress on the floor, I like the idea of.
Yes.
If you do it correctly, like co-sleeping versus planned co-sleeping, unplanned co-sleeping. If you're doing the full Maria Montessori approach, your house will be totally safe. You know, your child will understand that they can cut their hand on a knife. Okay, so yes, agree with and like the idea of the Maria Montessori approach if you do it correctly from day one.
Yes. In all aspects.
Yes.
Not just the bed.
Not just the bed.
Your child is a bit more independent
because you'll have taught your child not to fall down the stairs.
Sure. Yeah.
I'm not a believer in stairgates. I can't stand stairgates. I believe that stairgates are needed.
Delay
like
a
sometimes
learning.
you might put them across the for different things if you're time poor. But I teach my children
if they see a step to go down safely.
Turn around, go down backwards,
I did that
or
with the boys.
You know, not
really well
to go down the stairs. You know, but you do need stairgates sometimes. Like if you're living upstairs in a house, maybe put the stairgate on the bedroom door so that they can't run out of the bedroom and fall down the stairs. You know, there's reasons for.
Sure.
But then I go back to children being much more intelligent than we think they are. Okay, they are much more intelligent than we think they are. So when I look at the bed frames, not a big fan. I worry that there could be an entrapment problem. I worry that they could get their little arms or legs stuck down the side. I worry that they could push the frame out from the wall and have a problem, But I'm not against Maria Montessori mattresses. So that's 2 readers' questions that we have answered on one podcast, and that's it for episode 14. And let's see if we're back next week.
Yes. Fingers crossed, I suppose. Well,
so that's a wrap.
Yeah, that's a wrap.
See you later.
Thank you. We'll see you next week.
Bye.
You have been listening to the Save Our Sleep podcast, brought to you by the International Baby Whisperer Proprietary Limited. You will find more information about the Save Our Sleep philosophy, product support, and how to watch the mini clips that accompany this podcast at saveoursleep.com. You may find the Save Our Sleep social media accounts by searching Tizzie Hall on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel for all my how-to videos and to watch the podcast. If you enjoyed this podcast, please rate the podcast and share it with your friends. I would like to thank Zoe Starr for co-hosting, Ben at Fundamental Studios Geelong for the amazing podcast recording room, Nick Dale at Primer Films for this production, and most of all, you, the listeners. Without you, there would be no reason for this podcast. Please enjoy, stay safe, and Zoe and I will look forward to chatting with you again next week.